So, down to the dirt. I go to conferences with all these fancy high caliber nutritionists and I say, now let's just get down to the dirt here. Let's talk about what nutrition really is. So let's do it for a minute. In my book, the first chapter is If Einstein Were Your Doctor. And the reason I did that is because Einstein was a big picture man. Einstein wanted to know how God thought. He wanted to know how the whole universe worked. He wasn't interested in a supernova or in the solar system. He wanted to know how it all worked. So he was the big picture man in science, and you know, he produced the general theory of relativity and the special theory of relativity. I don't know if you know much about Einstein, but he was a genius. And I wanted to apply Einstein's genius to healthcare. So I actually wrote a chapter where Einstein's doing a study where he's taking his principles of how he looks at the universe and applying them to medicine and medical practice. So a patient shows up at the doctor, his doctor's not there, and Einstein walks in, and today Albert Einstein's his doctor. So Dr. Einstein sits there and goes through all the problems he's having and looks at all the drugs he's taking. And without telling the whole story, I'll let you read it, but you see what happens when Einstein becomes your doctor. So Dr. Einstein says, do you think you can really practice effective nutrition without knowledge of and management of the soil? The soil is the foundation, literally the ground substance of all that lives. So he says, let's take a look and you can decide for yourself. If you read the works of Rudolf Steiner, who is the founder of biodynamic farming, another genius, actually more than a genius. How many of you have read anything by Rudolf Steiner? Okay, not too many of you. Rudolf Steiner was about 5 geniuses trapped in one body, okay? I won't go into Rudolf Steiner, but I've got about 300 and, last count, close to, what do I have? I think, no, about 175 Steiner books. I've read 18 of them cover to cover. If you've read any Steiner, you know it's not easy reading. It's direct translations from his native language, which is, what was it? Austrian, yeah. And whoever did the translations did not change the syntax into English. So you're reading Austrian to English directly, so oftentimes the sentences are structured backwards and it's very hard mentally. But once you learn how to read Steiner and you can read them, it's like, wow, we need him right now, today. But he's smart, he won't come back because someone will kill him. Okay? So Steiner talked about superficial and deep digestion. He talked a lot about the earth as a living being, and he made correlations with the function of the earth and functions in your body. He talked about the soil, and he said the soil has superficial and deep digestion. So the soil is the earth's stomach. Okay, the soil is the earth's stomach. And just like you have phases of digestion, the first phase of digestion is, well, if you want to be technical, it's choosing food that you can actually digest. So it's not using your mouth as a garbage can. That's step number 1. The second phase is proper mastication. So you got to chew your food properly. That's really technically the first phase of digestion. Next is the stomach phase, then the small intestine phase, and then there's a few small changes in the colon, but the colon's sort of a staging area to get rid of things. In the earth, the topsoil is what Steiner refers to as superficial digestion, and the earthworms are what Steiner refers to as deep digestion. So he talks about the earth's stomach has 2 layers, the microorganisms and the earthworms. Okay? Research shows that a gram of soil, now a penny weighs a gram. So, because it's often hard for people to put this into perspective. So when I say a gram of soil, I'm saying the same amount of soil by weight as 1 US penny. So think about what I'm saying now. A gram of US soil can contain 600 million microorganisms of tens of thousands of different species of bacteria and fungi. So literally, you've got a city of living organisms in a thimble. A sowing thimble of soil is about a gram of soil. So in there, you got a population of about 600 million. And these little creatures are working to support the very food we eat and the very food and the very plant life that holds the whole surface of the earth together, literally, and controls the temperature on the planet, and regulates water flow on the planet. So these are critical things that very few people think about, which I will open up more to as we go along. So what you see here is the microorganisms, such as fungal-feeding nematodes, protozoa, predatory nematodes, bacteria, others. Those are the main classes. You've got nematodes, trematodes, etc. They're all little guys. Some of these can get pretty big, though, like you know, the Ascaris worm, which is a parasite that infects the human being, frequently reaches 18 inches in length. You can get tapeworms, which are parasites, and they can be several feet long, many feet long. Now, humus, which is healthy topsoil with organic matter in it as nutrition for the microorganisms that live there, humus is very, very important because it holds water. 1 square foot of humus has been shown by research to hold 7 gallons of water. So if you take a box 1 foot deep, 1 foot wide, so 1 square foot, and fill it with proper humus, it'll hold 7 gallons of water. This is critical because whenever the soil becomes deficient in organic matter, you get runoff. So the water actually runs off the soil. What do you think happens if water starts running off of farmland? What's it going to do to your topsoil? Wash it away. So what happens is all your topsoil ends up in local creeks and local rivers, and then it runs away. So you get what's technically called runoff. In a farming terminology, runoff means that you've got water running off the fields. Now, we have a water shortage on the planet. If you read the journal The Ecologist, they predict, as do many, that the next world war is going to be fought over water, and that there's going to be worldwide water shortages of major proportions by the year 2030 due to the population rise and the rate that we're using and polluting water. Now, if you look at commercial farming and the amount of water that is being run off, if you just drive through places like El Centro and see the sprinkler systems going like crazy, and know that these farms have very, very low levels of humus. So their water is actually just running off. It's wasting huge amounts of water, which is critical for everybody on the planet and every living thing on the planet. So when there's enough organic matter, it stops soil erosion and it improves the electromagnetism of the soil. A fantastic book, if you're interested in this, is Science in Agriculture by Arden Anderson. Arden Anderson references a lot of great Russian research, and you can also look at the papers of William A. Albrecht. And what the current research and recent research out of Russia shows in particular is that the microorganisms actually take the soil and convert it into a crumb-like structure. So if you take a graham cracker, certainly you've had the experience of crushing a graham cracker, and then if you look at it, they're actually little, almost like crystalline-shaped structures. You understand what I mean by a crumb-like structure? So the microorganisms actually take the soil, and using the organic matter and using their bodies, they reshape the soil into a crumb-like structure. This is what humus is. And the research from Russia showed that these little microorganisms create antennas out of the soil. So the way you have a satellite antenna on your house or on a hotel so you can get 500 channels, the little microorganisms are taking the soil and they're reshaping it into miniature cosmic antennas that suck starlight, moonlight, and sunlight right into the earth and turns the earth into a living battery. And the less microorganisms you have, the less conversion of soil into humus you have.